When we talk about the early automobile industry, one name dominates the conversation: Ford. Henry Ford's Model T changed everything. The way we move, the way we work, even the way we think about machines and people. But tucked away in the rolling countryside of Ohio, there was another name, one you probably haven't heard. The first and only black-owned automobile manufacturer in American history. And for a brief, shining moment, they built cars that could stand toe-to-toe with Ford's. Charles Richard Patterson was born enslaved in Virginia in 1833. After escaping to Ohio before the Civil War, he became a blacksmith, a craftsman with an eye for precision and pride in his hands. In 1873, he co-founded a carriage company with a white partner, J.P. Lowe, in a small town called Greenfield. 20 years later, Patterson bought out Lowe and renamed the firm C.R. Patterson & Sons. They made carriages, elegant, strong, custom-built. Doctors, farmers, merchants bought them. By the 1890s, Patterson's company employed a racially mixed team of about 35 workers. Imagine that, in post-Reconstruction America, a successful, integrated manufacturing shop owned by a black family. By 1900, the writing was on the wall. The automobile was coming, and Charles's son, Frederick Douglass Patterson, yes, named after the abolitionist, saw it first. He urged his father to pivot from horse-drawn buggies to motorized cars. In 1915, the Patterson-Greenfield automobile rolled out of that Ohio shop. It was sleek, handcrafted, and powerful. 30 horsepower with electric starting and lighting, cantilever springs, and a stylish touring car body. At $685 to $850, it was competitive with Ford's Model T, at least on paper. But here's the catch. Patterson built cars by hand. Each one was made to order. Ford, on the other hand, had already mastered the assembly line. By 1913, Ford could produce a Model T in 93 minutes. And each year, he dropped the price. He was down to $360 by 1916. That meant Ford could flood the market. Patterson could build 30 cars. Ford could build 300,000. But that didn't mean Patterson wasn't a rival. He was, in the truest sense, a rival in spirit, in innovation, in representation. Because while Ford was transforming production, Patterson was transforming possibility. He was proving that black entrepreneurship could exist at the very center of industrial America, not just on its fringes. Still, even spirit can't always beat scale. The automotive world was consolidating. Small companies, hundreds of them, folded under the weight of rising costs, mass production technology, and the demands of nationwide distribution. For a black-owned firm in the early 20th century, those barriers were even higher. Banks wouldn't lend. Distributors hesitated. Investors stayed away. And yet, Patterson persisted. When car production became unsustainable, they pivoted again. The company shifted to building truck and bus bodies on other manufacturers' chassis. They made school buses, delivery trucks, utility vehicles, and kept people employed through the 1920s. For 2 decades, the Patterson factory in Greenfield kept humming, an engine of hope in a landscape of change. By 1939, the company closed its doors. The Great Depression had gutted small manufacturers, and industrial consolidation left little room for independent builders. But what Patterson created didn't vanish. It became a symbol of innovation in the face of exclusion, of craftsmanship against mass production, of what black enterprise could achieve when given even a sliver of opportunity. Frederick Douglass Patterson would go on to contribute in education, later becoming president of Tuskegee Institute, shaping minds long after the engines stopped running. Think about it. In the early 1900s, the Patterson Company wasn't just making vehicles. They were redefining identity. They weren't just rivaling Ford's factory. They were rivaling America's idea of who could build the future. If you drive a car today, Any car, think about the ecosystem that made it possible. Not just the assembly lines and investors, but the dreamers hammering metal in a small shop, determined to prove they belonged in the story. Patterson's story reminds us that the roads we drive were paved by more than machines. They were paved by courage, imagination, and defiance. I'm Soul of Omen, and this was The Forgotten Rival, Patterson vs. Ford. If you enjoyed this episode, follow the show and share it, because stories like these deserve to travel as far as the cars that inspired them. Until next time, keep your eyes on the road, and your mind on the journey.